Our final presentation for the symposium is a real legend in the area. He's pumping up.
Just warming up.
As you can see, he's a very personable, very open man. He was just in Chicago at another trade show, and he came in late last night to be with us here today. It's Bill Kazmaier, the world's strongest man. He's won the world's strongest man 3 times. He's world powerlifting champion, super heavyweight. He's broken many, many records. And what we're going to go through today is just some small distinctions on some different exercises that we're going to go through. And then Bill is also going to talk about some of his experiences as far as being within the world's strongest man, and also the mental capacity to be world's strongest man, and even some of the injuries, because Bill has suffered some different types of injuries due to the types of lifting that he has done, and some of the things that has been effective, and also how we can actually change that. So I want you to welcome Mr. Bill Kazmaier.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Is that where we need to be?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the introduction and the opportunity to be here at Swiss. My first thoughts in getting up this morning were kind of enlightening, but really simple, that if only 20 years ago I would have had an experience like this and could have then collected the information from a conference like this, I would have had a much easier time in my life and my career of lifting and strength. It was one of those things that, as you can imagine, not being real, not with a lot of aptitudes in school, but a lot in athletics. When I got to college, I was going to be a football player, and then a pro football player. And in anatomy class, it wasn't cat anatomy. There were 50 cadavers in our room. That was a little freaky in and of itself. And next to me at my cadaver table, there were 4 or 5 doctor students. They were pre-med type guys. And with the anatomy of the body, we went through the bones in the first 2 days. Whew. I said, I'm dropping it. I'm here for Fayed. So, as you can see that, and I was going to make my impact out on the football field. And things that happened there really weren't. When I came out of high school, I was really a big fish in a small pond. I was 225, 30 pounds in the backfield. I had the school record in the 100 in the shot put. Our biggest lineman was 190. One of our guards was a 126-pounder in the wrestling team. You can imagine me dragging these guys down the field, but a small town, small school of 10,000 people. So way back in the beginning, if I tell a little bit of when I was 10 years old, I snuck into the gym at night and I knocked on the door of the girls' locker room, where I heard clang, bash. There was 1 bar, 1 set of weights, probably 110 maybe. I know it had to be quite a bit more. My gym teacher, math teacher, was trying to press his weight overhead. He weighed 200 pounds. He said, I knocked on the door, he let me in, he said, come in, sit down, and don't say anything. He went through his workout, which was military presses that day. He tried to press his own weight. He weighed about 200, did 195. I said, when he finished to put all this stuff away, I said, can I go ahead and try my weight? I weighed 100 pounds. I'd never really seen a barbell set before. So I just sort of grabbed it, flipped it, popped it, and set it down. And he said, okay, now you've got to leave. Don't ever come back. So there was my first experience to the educational process of strength training. It was 63. There was a lot of powerlifting and things just breaking in. I guess they were doing the odd lifts, and I don't know that they really did the organized 3 power lifts in those early 60s. It was maybe more towards the late 60s when there was a real movement. I got to college, things didn't really work out all that well. I had this, I didn't study much politics, and I had my first experience to it with my coaching staff, because I was not from the Chicagoland area where they recruited heavily. I was not of their religious faith of Catholicism. I, at the time, was struggling with a lot of things in my life, and I was bigger, faster, stronger than the other backs, but I was not going to play. So the football experience didn't go real well. Within just 2.5 years, and about 70 credits of a 126 credit program at Madison, Wisconsin, I elected to start powerlifting. And I met a couple guys in town. There was a Bubba Morgan who was 6'1", 310 pounds. He deadlifted 805 for the American record, squatted 765, and benched 565. He was literally this thick from shoulder to shoulder, but when he sat at his bar with a handful of money as the bouncer, and he ran that bar, he was the king. I looked at him and I said, wow, I kind of want to look like that. I want to be like that. And it was amazing because immediately he became a mentor and one who gave everything he knew. Here's a guy who could probably run 4'6", 4'7" in the 40. He could dunk a basketball at just over 6 feet, over 300 pounds. He loved basketball. He had a leg that looked like a frog's leg and still squatted 765. So within just a couple months of training, I did 400, 410 in the squat. You know, when I first showed up at the college to play football, we were doing deadlifts one afternoon, and I had never done a deadlift, but they had 405 on the bar, and I picked that up rather easily. And then we went to 485, and then 585. I think I did 595 that first day in deadlifts. So I had a lot of aptitude, I guess, as you can tell. I was blessed with that shoulder strength, and I developed it over the years, and I really, although I tried in my feeble way to approach lifting as a science, obviously, you guys in this association are the scientists, but as a practitioner, when I would get in front of people, I surely wouldn't say, they'd ask me, how do you lift those weights? Some of my friends, the knuckle draggers, would go, well, I bend down and I pick them up. So I actually tried to get a little bit deeper than that. And for me, there was, now we're talking in the late 70s, early 80s, I hated the computer. I still hate the computer. But I knew I had a computer. I used that. I used the motion picture of my mind. I tried to analyze and critique and understand every workout. After that, I would sit in a quiet place and analyze and understand what I had just done. I'd evaluate my performance and my shortcomings, whether I had enough resistance, enough reps and sets. I would think about everything back and forth and scan it just as much as I could to make sure that I was on the proper path. I used a calculator a great deal to calculator and 50 equations on how to get from where I was to a world record, and back and forth, and how many splits and how much resistance I'd have to add each week, how many reps I could drop. And for me, it was like starting a lot of 10s and 15s. And my periodization, back in the 70s, we called it cycling. When Mike Stone discovered periodization back there at Auburn University in 1980, I said, Doc, we've been doing this for about 10, 15 years, but if you want to call it periodization, you can. A lot of 10s and 15s, then all 10s. On a heavy day, I'd move up 50 pounds. Light day, I'd move up 22 pounds. So I still had a lot of endurance when I got into the 5.5s. And to me, 5 sets of 5 at 80% of the maximum weight lifted gave the greatest amount of size and power. But I didn't mess around with like a lot of the lighter weights who did really low rep sets and super high intensity. I went from like all 10s. I don't like those lights. The doctor told you that. I would go through that 5.5s, then 4.5s, 3.5s, 2.5s. I would take that 50 pounds a week, and you know, I had this real brainstorm. You're moving 20 tons of weight in a workout, and I figured that in a 7-week time period of 49 days, if you work out once a week, let's see, you get that many workouts. But if you work out every 6 days and you don't take that day off, you get one more workout, which is 50 more pounds in each of your big lifts. And let's see, if you're going for a world record, that means that helps a lot. You can start a little lower on your calculator, and you can finish a little higher. So what I always did was started at a world record of where I wanted to be in the meet, go backwards from there. After a competition, I was sort of peaked out. I'd go through those 5.5s, 4, 3.5s, 2.5s, 3 triples, 2 triples, couple doubles. Off a couple doubles, I'd go to a meet. A lot of guys were doing singles for weeks. I didn't think that really would work. Right after the cycle, I would immediately drop to a 70 percentile and coast, and be gunning for my next meet, and then build up from there. So that's the powerlifting career. There's many things that I can get into here, and we're going to kind of have plenty of time, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I can slow down, take a breath, tell you that after the powerlifting career, okay, let's go 30 years back. Jim Thorpe, Carlisle Indian, Pennsylvania. He didn't grow up in Jim Thorpe, but they got his remains. You guys know that story. You also know that he won the pentathlon and the decathlon, and he was the greatest athlete in the 21st century. That's not Muhammad Ali, it's Jim Thorpe. Baseball, football, all the track and field events. Those guys that show up at a major college, 4 or 5 guys, they'd laugh at him when they got off the bus, and they'd whip a team of 15, 20 guys. They were phenomenal. When I read his book, I had to be diversified. I had to be the decathlete of strength. After I mastered the squat, deadlift, and bench press, I said, what's next? I knew I had great shoulder strength. I already had the world record in pressing overhead with dumbbells. I always really enjoyed that. Excuse me. See, I'm real prepared. I do this a lot. I can say whatever I want because I'm off the camera now, right? Good. We were going to today go through the 3 power lifts and maybe a few odd lifts and then into the world's strongest man type stuff and lots of experiences and insights. And, you know, I guess if I told you I used intuition, you guys use books, you know, all the information's down. Now you use the computer, you network and check out websites. And some of you who are so cerebral that you can comprehend many different subjects at the same time have a big advantage over guys like me. But you know, that was your brain chemistry. My body worked a little bit different. I kind of see all of us now as pretty much the same sort of people. We want to be the best we can be. That was my ultimate goal. And you guys are doing that in your lives. You are becoming the best you can. So I really see no difference when I shake your hand today, and I've got a bunch of posters and pictures and autographs for you guys. When I shake your hand, you got to realize when you look in my eyes, there's no difference between you and I. I'm not better than you. And I know some of you may have degrees. I've been intimidated by those over the years, but I've got over that because that is really your path that you've chosen. I was given some really phenomenal gifts, but it wasn't the gift of discipline of mind. When I started to read a paragraph in high school, I didn't care. I couldn't remember the second sentence, the third sentence. I think it might be ADD. It could be whatever we've discovered those deficiencies to be over the years. Back then, I was just stupid. So, but I still got a C in algebra, which kept me on the football field. And in wrestling, I was 27-3. And on the track team, I was kicking everybody's tail. Funniest thing on the track team, we ran on cinders. We didn't have starting blocks. I'd get beat out of the hole. I didn't know how to start. I really didn't even use blocks. But at the 50, I was kind of pulling even. At the 70, I said, see ya. And I was running all these guys 100 pounds lighter than me. And that was pretty cool. So you can kind of see I've really enjoyed sport. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to do all the things I did. And, I try to carry that energy wherever I go because my walk and my life has been just totally phenomenal. I could have done a lot of things a different way, and people say, would you have done steroids, and would you have taken amphetamines in your training and all this, and would you have done the damage to your body? I share with a lot of the people that really are in the know that I fired up that candle at both ends. I torched it in the middle a couple of times. I blew it all out. My great friends like O.D. Wilson, John Paul Sigmarsson, well, I could tell that story. He wasn't really a friend. But, and some of those others are not here anymore. So when they fired up their candle, I think it did burnout and backdraft and the whole bit, and they're gone. Lee Moran and a lot of other comrades that it's really a shame. I hope the adage is true that the good die young, because a lot of them died in their early 30s. So how to take that into the 3 power lifts. Squat. As I said, oh yeah, that is what they use. I don't do a whole lot of this anymore. My knees are totally gone. The dimensions of this thing from collar to collar is something I can't quote, but I know it was too small. Because as I developed my body in the bench press, I was way too big for this apparatus. So what would that mean that I had to do? Some of the littler guys who were relaxed in the shoulder, I can't use this shoulder, I'll tell you that later. They were relaxed in the shoulders. They were flexible. They could get the bar down their back. They could put their stance in any comfortable position they wanted. For me, I was scrunched here, so I was scrunched there. Kind of, with 900 plus pounds on my back, I felt like I was a tree in the wind. I'm 6'2", way too tall to squat and have the leverages for the lift. So I had to kind of pick it apart and try to figure out just how to be the best I could at this lift. I immediately tried to get that bar down as far on my back as I could to, of course, cut that distance from the hips bending point to where the load was. So I did a lot of regular power squats. I also did a bunch of squatting that was, I thought, really very beneficial, which was the opposite day, a whole 2-day rest from, I'd go through 775 5.5s. One cycle I did 800 for 10 on my way up to my bigger weights. And so I kind of pounded my body pretty hard. And then on heavy squat day, I did heavy partial deadlifts because it's virtually the same movement, squatting and deadlifting. And so I kind of put them together. I would also do heavy partial squats on heavy deadlift days. But the one thing that really helped me the most in squatting, I think, was moving the bar up my back, which then made me a little more comfortable. But I still kept a very narrow stance. And what I was calling these was high bar squats, non-lockout. I called it a sewing machine squat, where when I dropped to the bottom or below parallel, I'd shoot up to about 3/4 of the way, 5/8, whatever the measurement might be. It was simply right about to here. I'd do the first 5 sort of slow. The next 5 were kind of boing, boing, boing. The third 5, I was getting a little gassed, so I did them sort of as singles, but came real close to lockout. I didn't do the traditional up and back down and wait 2 or 3 seconds. It was doink, doink, doink. And when I did that, it gave me the ability to literally jump off the floor. I watched Fred Hatfield squat and his plyometric stuff, which I guess is a whole science. To me, made a lot of sense. I watched Marvin Phillips. He taught me how to squat. Marvin Phillips was 242 pounds, squatted 811, was one of the greatest from Southern California. I started working with him and Terry McCormick and Dave Shaw. If anybody ever saw Dave Shaw squat, don't emulate him.
Yeah.
Because he kind of goes down.
It bends right over.
I don't know what he's doing. These are supposed to drive, but I guess he uses the lower back to get the weight back up. So in order to develop great power, I did those high bar squats, which, for explanation, I think one of the reasons I did them was to build the hip flexor. And to me, that hip flexor really crosses over. It's really important in deadlift. And by building that, some of my workouts up 600, 650, 15s, just light belt, no suit, no wraps, just doink, 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 doink. Warming up, getting some of that out of the way, fatiguing the quads. So that was my heavy deadlift day. So that I didn't use my legs in the squat, or in the deadlift, and my hip flexors were pumped. And my theory on the hip flexor was like this. If this muscle was, I looked at the Olympic lifters. Boy, did I study the Olympic lifters. They seem to be in all the gyms everywhere. Breakdowns of Riegert, Rachmaninoff, Pizarenko, Alexeyev. Either lift off the floor. When you look at those hips and the shoulders and the head, you see this knot. Well, I figured that knot had a lot to do with that bar coming off the floor fast. So the way I built it was with those high bar squats. And the function I think it has is twofold, both in the squat and deadlift. In the squat, it allows you to roll the hips and tuck them under. And I think, and in the deadlift, it keeps you down. If you do it non-lockout and you keep tension on the hip flexor, you have a muscle that lasts and works for a long time. Well, to me, when you're coming off the floor, and you got to put those hips down and keep them down all the way to here, under a really heavy stress, I consider that a long time to flex that hip flexor. If you don't have that hip flexor, the hips come up, and the bar goes out front, the head's down, your form is shot. So that's why I did a lot of high bar squats for deadlifting. Things of today, the super wraps, well, I was introduced with those tan wraps. They kind of were like a rag, falling apart. And from there, we excelled. They were ace bandages. We excelled to, I got really smart. I used a jock strap top because you couldn't tear it. Problem was it was micro thin and probably pulled to 1.5 inches across. The things of today are a full 3 or 4 inches and about 1/4 inch thick. And it takes 2 guys to actually stretch one. I would like to have had that kind of apparatus as a protective device when I was squatting because it would have really helped a lot. The suits of our day were nothing more than a gym suit. Spangen came out with this material that was a little bit tight, but you pull them up with the straps and they were not what they use today. Of course, today, does anybody really even care about that lifting gear apparatus? I mean, after Bill Pearl, the unbelievable, awesome, incredible, fantastic person, the #1 guy that I've ever met. If I had a mentor, if I had a coach, a teacher, somebody I wanted to follow, somebody I wanted to be like, somebody that I could ask any question to at any time, anywhere, somebody that when I saw in a magazine later in his career, I went, my gosh, look at that physique. When I went into his gym and met him, it was just an awesome experience. I've known him for a number of years, but what a man, and what a way to look. So to get onto him, I lost my train of thought, Doc. Where was I?
Talking about squat.
More squat.
More squat.
Sure.
You know what? Why don't you demonstrate on me where? Just coach me on how to squat.
Okay. You know, when you get into a Bill Pearl, man, I'm so happy you invited him. And what a remarkable guy. You know, to be a mentor and to teach like that. And that was, you know, I found guys like that would help me with the lifts, and I had to try to figure out how to do this stuff. And I got to tell you that 25 years ago, people didn't do this. You and I as lifters, if we didn't lift in the same class, we had no conversation. Right. At different times. We didn't care about each other. If we were in the same class, we growled at each other. Where's that exchange of information? I mean, how do you get better? You have to kind of go within and observe and figure out from there. But in the back squat, getting the bar down as far as we could, of course, was really the most important thing.
So how far down would you go?
Well, we built shelves, of course. When you're doing 400-pound lat rows, and I did 650 for 50 in the shrug, so I pretty much had these lumps and things where shelves that I could set it on. But
I don't.
Yeah. And first movement being breaking the hips, of course, knees over the ankles.
So you would break it like this.
Of course.
First you kick the butt back.
Yeah. Really, really locking. And I think it was really important to keep that knee over the ankle. Because I was so long and tall in the quadricep, I had to play with shoe apparatus. And yeah, I was talking about wraps and all that sort of goofy stuff of today. And Bill Pearl was talking about integrity and lifting. And now my trainings of thought are coming back to me. This apparatus and the different junk that they're wearing. Man, if we would have had some of that stuff, I think I would have squatted a gazillion. Because I think the frame can handle actually a lot. Okay, I had to play with heel height in order to keep my knee over my ankle. Because I found that the more I lifted my heel, I could sit back and I was able to get deep. I had to keep my back really straight because I was long here. You know, so all these considerations, of course, when you're working with different people, when you see a Mike Bridges of my era or Eddie Cohn of, as I retired, he came in and he said, I'm going to be like you, I'm going to be better than you. I said, yeah, you probably are, and now he is. And he's actually, did anybody get his book?
Yeah.
Did you read the back page, what I wrote about him? Anybody? Or didn't you? I wrote a poem on the back cover of his book, and when you read that, you'll see greatest lifter ever. And the most phenomenal thing about him is that he shares with others, and he's just so humble, and he's a really remarkable lifter. But so I played with heel height a lot, and I could not be as wide in your stance as you are, because look where your hands are. When I tried to get inside this apparatus, as I told you, it was way too small for me because of the bench press and all the upper body development and the width of my shoulders. I was literally hands against the plates up to about 550, 600. Then it was with the bar high on the neck. Then it was trying to get the hand in. Okay, now I'm tearing the bicep tendon out of the groove. Well, it's killing me. The wrist hurts, the elbow hurts, shoulder hurts. Pain back here. I don't put up with Eddie Cohn. What Eddie Cohn puts up with, he's got scarring and massive ripping, and he's a tough guy. I was pretty fortunate. It didn't hurt me here, but everything was excruciatingly painful. Still high bar. Then hands back against the plates, drop the bar down the back. Now, yeah, and you actually can hold it there, up into the 750 range. And now when it's time to go over 800, creep 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers, and have to get stretched out enough before the meet to actually get all 4 fingers inside the bar. If you can imagine what was going on here, here, and here, well, the next day I couldn't bench 135. So my chiropractor, my kinesiologist, my Palmer grad, I'd drive to Atlanta, he would grab that tendon with his fingertips, roll the shoulder back, and I didn't hear it, but he said, yep, there it is, back in the groove. I'd go into the bench the next day and be able to go into the 500s and play with it like a toy. You know, my warm-ups in the bench were 3 plates, I'd go 2 plates to start, 3 plates, and then for 20, and then 4 plates for 20. That would just tuck in. 20 and 400, just tuck it, just touch it nice. Pop, 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 pop. So that was lifting, and I'll explain about all that muscle firing and stuff later. But squat was obviously, I didn't get the world record. I got up to 900 for a triple. That day I think I could have got the world record, Paul Ren's 968. But here was the problem. Tense fasciolata. Really strained. So we had Marcaine. We shot it up pretty good for about 6-8 weeks before the meet. And my doctor said, hey, Bill, as long as you don't move laterally, it'll stay on. You're okay. So a lot of pain all over the body. You can imagine how much, I mean, I really wasn't built for this lift way too long. So I had to try to figure it out the best I could. One of the hardest parts, I think, most interesting things in the squat that as you go to break parallel. Come on, Doc, let's see you. Doc squatted for so many years and really knows what he's doing. What happens when you break parallel? And back up, come on back up and reset and go? Okay. What I want to talk about is where he broke parallel for a second before he goes back down again, which is really important to me. Because there have been some fantastic squatters as far as handling weight, gosh, come on back up. Boy from Atlanta, I guess he became 275 super heavyweight, died in an auto accident, broke his neck. Passanella, he had the big bar. He could relax inside, he could get in a nice stance. But what he did was, when he went down, he stopped here. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're high, baby. It ain't no white lights. So what you got to do is give up the hips, relax the low back, use those hip flexors, relax the glutes.
So do you just drop?
Drop below. Yep. And now that's such a tough move. The truly great squatters are able to do that. If you can't do that, you're not a great squatter.
So you just completely let go at the bottom?
Not let go, but I hinged down.
You hinged?
I dropped in, went under, reset, and drove in a straight line. I missed one squat in my life. It was a 930. I got it a little bit forward. Well, no, I missed two. Set that thing down, Doc. I don't want to strain you. Thank you. You see, if we get into the injuries, you just could be here all day. But in the squat, I didn't feel right on an 887. Two different guys wrapped my knees. Had a lot of help, a lot of helpers, good, really concerned people. Only problem was, one was tighter than the other. What does that do? What happens on the way up when you... I'll tell you what happened this time. Adductor, abductor, 10,000 rubber bands, 2 razor blades. Just like that. The 6 guys behind me, though, were the best saviors. They caught the weight.
Wow.
These rubber bands went thump. I went, wah! Fell to my face, cringing, screaming in agonizing pain. Where's the bar? On the film, you know the different accidents on television? Lately, Mark Philippi blowing out the knee under the car. Next year, they're real smart. They get his wife in the background. Blows out his knee carrying the big rocks. Oh, that's good TV, isn't it? So you know the guy that it's probably before a lot of you guys, unless you're my age, the guy going down the ski jump, coming off the side before he actually did his big deal for distance. They played that for 10, 15 years.
How about Franco running with the fridge?
Very true. Yeah, they didn't show it enough. They didn't get their mileage out of that one. But for Jones, was it Gary Jones? As soon as Larry Pacifico jumped classes, he freaked out, tried to go 100 pounds heavier than he ever did in the squat. Thump. That was middle of the lower leg, kind of on the mat, foot over here. They played that a lot. Okay, so when I did this, guess what was the tease again and again and again? Saturday, from Auburn University, world's strongest football player and the Auburn Cup with me and Doyle Kennedy. So after the squat that day, this is kind of a neat story while we're on injuries. I had 2 balloons that I kind of hobbled to the back room with and got a little ice on them, we really didn't start anything to settle those things down. Didn't really get any injections. I guess I didn't have anything in my black bag at the time. Came hobbling up the stage for the bench and did a 639 world record with no legs. So you could see I was a little bit of a master of the bench press, even without having a lot of my facilities to do that. But, so squat, if I would have been a little bit more supple in the shoulders, okay, I think we should go right to all 3 lifts. They don't go together. You guys know that? They don't go together. What happens if you got a big pectoral and you go to deadlift and you're really dominant in the front? And of course, your rhomboids will never be as strong. Boom. As soon as you go to flex, boing. What does that mean? Most benchers are short-armed. Are they good deadlifters? No. John Cuck, one of the greatest super heavyweights, and then dropped down to 242 when they didn't have the 275-pound class. Long arm, Fantastic deadlifter, no bencher. Yeah, you never really saw a guy who could bench, who could deadlift, and who could squat. I think if Eddie's pec wasn't torn, he'd be at his 2,500 long ago, because he put all three of them together. To me, the true master is the one who can do all the three, because as I say, they don't complement each other.
Deadlift?
So, I'm sorry?
Do you want to do deadlift?
Sure. Now, deadlift there again, we already went over the hip flexor being so important. You know, one more thing on squat.
Sure.
John Cash?
Jim.
Jim. He's a smart guy. You got to keep that knee over the ankle. Taping your ankles was illegal because, you know, you get forward travel and you collapse. But if you can come down in a hinge, you can use a lot more of your power. So Cash was pretty smart. He strapped his ankles. And what I did was I went to Adidas, who really helped a lot of the athletes at a trade show and said, I need a ski boot. They made this thing with junk inside of it. I strapped it up. I could not lean forward. I had a shoe that worked the way his bandaging did. So I would always watch and figure out how guys did what they did and how they improved, even with their inadequacies. So that was squat. My best one was 9 1/4. But off the 900 triple, I really think that I could have done the world record. Anyway, right into the deadlift. To me, all the Olympic lifters were, of course, that's the way to pull. You know, just like an Olympic lifter. So when I started off, everything was heels real close together and just whoop, up as quick and fast as I could. Sometimes you can shut off the muscles and firing pretty quickly, but I could have gone up with 600 pounds just 15 times, 700 pounds, 10 is nothing, 800 for fives. I think I did 3 or 4 fives at 800, 2 fives at 8 1/4. I pulled it as hard and fast as I could. I tried to rip the bar off the floor. Might be a nice time to talk about recruitment of fiber. I mean, you guys study it, know about it, and can tell me just how it works. A lot of guys can in here. To me, something happens in the brain, and through the motor pathway it goes an electrical current, and it recruits fiber against the muscle flexes against a movable joint. That's the Cro-Magnon approach that I have. But so what I had to do was stimulate as much fiber as I could, and I tried to recruit everything as hard and fast as I could. So all my lifts were just really explosive. I really believe that if you train slow, whatever it is, on a medium weight, what are you going to do with a heavyweight? Go even slower. So I use 3 really simple words, and forgive me if I talk down to some of you guys on some of the ways that I communicate, because I'm used to talking to a lot of children. And with them, I'll tell them trick, beat, kill. You got to try to figure out from here how to put it into here, and that is take a real heavy weight in a workout. You can't do it very well. You may be a little sloppy. You might have to cheat a little bit, but you trick it. But what are you doing with the weight that you tricked a month ago? You're beating it. You're beating it hard. It's moving fast, whatever the lift is. What are you doing with the weight 6 months before that, 4 months before that, as you're moving up on this cycle? You're killing it. Trick, beat, kill. You just keep moving those 3 words and that thought pattern up over resistances. And as you do, things that you were tricking last year, you're on your way to killing, and you're beating something in between. You guys get that one? The kids do. Yeah. I also tell those kids, you know, I really enjoy the opportunity to be able to get in front of people. I mean, what a great gift to say to him, give me a chance to get in front of people and share my knowledge and my understanding. And he does. And I tell the kids, conceive, believe, and achieve. Conceive of an idea, collect the information, like you guys do, stacks of information. In the belief process, really it's believing in yourself, believing that what you're doing is really important. And I think this is a big part of me. What I did and what I do every day, and just that second before I am thinking, this is infinitely the most important thing in my reality. Now, how many of you guys can do that right here, right now? I mean, I haven't seen anybody yawning yet, but I don't know if this is really the most important thing that you're really doing, but I'm happy that you're here and giving me your attention and locked into me. But, you know, so many people go through life and it's kind of like, you know, they're not really all there. So that commitment and the purpose, I take it to what I talk about, and I guess I'm jumping off track into a little bit of philosophy here, right, and my own, but it really is purity of purpose. It's like a ship at sea, kid story. Old sailing ship, and the sails are slack. There's no wind. They might as well drop them because they're not going anywhere. But if your purpose is for improvement of self, family, spiritual, your wins are like hurricane. Your sails are full and you're moving fast. So to me, that's really important. If, a lot of guys told me, if I was as big as you, I wouldn't walk down nobody would walk down the same side of the street as me. I go, man, you got a head problem. You're pretty messed up. And guys that are always in a lat flex. I mean, why? I'd pull down 400 pounds for a bunch of sets and do rows with 4.5 or 20s. I don't do that. You really got a problem. So it's not all about all the ego. It's about the function and about really making it important and doing it for a good thing and a good cause. I'll save till later how and why I was able to do all this stuff. So more on deadlift. I mean, it is really just being an Olympic lifter, just ripping that thing off the floor. I found, though, that when I put my heels together and had a fairly narrow hand stance, that when I came off the floor, I got to here. I was a little bigger in here way back, of course. I'm not squatting or deadlifting and doing all that anymore. I couldn't get my hips forward. I went to punch them through, and there was no room. So I slowly moved my stance out week after week over a few months, moved my hand grip out a little bit. But what it did was I wasn't able to really fly off the floor. I had to have more patience. But then when I got here, I simply had room for the hips and could lock them out. Controlled aggression is all of our lifting, and it's really important in deadlift. If you can't keep those hips down, head and shoulders back, pull as hard as you can without changing your position other than an upward direction. If you're traveling forward, you're in trouble. So deadlift was really easy for me. As I told you, doing 600 pounds the first time I ever tried it.
You want to do bench?
Yeah, and then if we even, somewhere in here, if you guys back up, of course, you guys have all that cognitive stuff. I kind of have a problem with my long-term memory, my short-term memory. I have a problem with my short-term memory. See, I can't even remember it. And I don't have a long-term memory at all. So, but some of you guys that remember what we're talking about in these 3 lifts, when it is time to come back to questions and stuff, and you want to go to these 3 lifts, I don't know, I don't have much more advice, but I do have a lot of experiences and things that I saw other guys do that made them successful. And there's probably a lot of things I did not cover in deadlift. Gripping to me was something that, hey, we're on bench already? Okay. I mean, gripping was really hard. I didn't realize I had a grip problem until I had 900 pounds in my hand and it started coming out. I always deadlifted with straps so I could relax the arm. What kind of lift is this? Yeah, it ain't strong enough. With that, how about the bullock lift? Has anybody ever visited York, Pennsylvania? In all my days of being really strong, they had this museum and all these great apparatus there that all these wonderful strongmen lifted in history. I never got invited. But I think I'm kind of happy because one of the things that they did there was a bullock lift. You girls, close your ears. Okay. It was a dumbbell tied to a rope around the testicles. And then hung, supported. I'm sorry, girls. But this is such an unbelievable story because one guy's tying in and they're talking and the dumbbell starts rolling off the edge of the bench and all the guys go. And he goes, whoa, whoa. And it comes off and he catches it. Well, suffice it to say that was the last day they did the bullock lift up there, right? But I wasn't sure what kind of lift you were doing there. You kind of see how my brain works. One thought brings another. So, in bench press.
What type of grip?
Okay, arm has to be at a 90-degree angle at the bottom of the lift. It's got to be like a piston in a car. So, yep, a little wider. But then that's really relative to where you put it on your chest. But you better put it fairly low. Today with these shirts, well, hell, they don't even touch the chest. That ain't a lift. Is that a lift? Bench press? It's got to touch your chest, right?
Yep.
You got to lock it out, right?
Yep.
Well, what are these things they're doing today? Oh, that's that Bill Pearl thing, integrity of lifting. Things have really fallen apart. Because I learned from the old guys, and Jim Williams was just before me. He did 675, but then he kind of retired. He retired because he went to prison. That sort of shit. I think he kept lifting in there, but he didn't compete. A lot of those guys back then didn't do very much as far as competition. They were so afraid of each other. They had egos that was like, yeah, I'm big and strong, but boy, I'm not going to show it. I'm not going to prove it. So a lot of them probably didn't do their best lifts. They weren't hungry for competition. But, Yeah, how would I explain this whole thing? You know, for me it was get a lift off, triple lift off, never feel the weight. It rocks across arm's length. When it comes down, I am cocking 2 hydraulics. You want to bring it up? Okay, 2 hydraulic cylinders. In high school, we had helper springs around our shocks. My hydraulic cylinder, as I was coming down, was just cocking. And then, pooh! Yeah. Okay, how did it travel? Just like he did. From low to high. How do I explain that to the kids? Drag it up a ramp. You're at a warehouse, you don't have a forklift. You can't lift it straight up. If you lift straight down, straight up, what have you done? You've done 2 reps. If you lever it down, sliding your tricep against your lat, neither one of us have that kind of advantage anymore, do we? When you got a really huge lat and a big tricep, and you're able to do that on the way down, and you really work hard on brachialis, 150-pound dumbbells, you got this knot here, where you do 100-pound front raises, all just little bits to help the bench. You bring it down sort of like a front raise. And when you blast those cannons, the front raise takes it back. Up and back. Yeah. So.
Now what about the legs and the butt?
Supposed to keep them down, Doc.
Yeah.
Butt down, as much arch as you can get, but something that's really comfortable.
Okay.
You know, and I never used my feet as you could imagine. After blowing my legs in that squat and coming back and doing the 639 with no legs, I obviously didn't use them very much. Some guys get leg drive and jerk their body around. I don't really think that helps. I think, you know, straight down, straight up.
Now what about a full grip versus a false grip?
Of course, very dangerous. And if you've ever seen anybody drop one, you'd never advise that kind of form again. What this also does is, let's look at this hand. It is like this. It is not a steering wheel. You can't do anything with the wrist. Put the thumb around. Now, it's a steering wheel. Let's take that one step further and put the bar up on the butt of the hand at the beginning of the lift. Now as we come down, we're here.
Oh, okay.
Come on down. Okay, now as you drive off, you're steering, let it slip off the butt of your hand, head to the deltoids. It's just a little subtlety that us experts use to do world records. But when you figure that out, and you know what's incorporated, low pec in the bottom of the lift and inner tricep, and you drive with all that, and then you start driving towards a world record, the resistance comes across the middle pec. If you can get through no man's land, that upper pec, which is pretty deficient, and catch it with a deltoid, and finish it with that outer tricep, which should be pretty strong. I figured my tricep was strong enough, because after bench, the next day, I would take an easy bar and do 3 plates, 3.5 plates, and 4 plates. You guys could tell me what that is, because I think it might have been in kilos, and that's really all screwed up. But I do sets of 20. About 8 sets of 20. My arm was 23 inches, and I literally had something that would do that. You don't have to hold this thing, Doc. Come on. You know, I mean, you're so good at this, and I'm just kind of like all over with it. You know, you guys are the kids. Boy, I really got a lot of guts for saying that. Me talking to you guys like this. You take a picture of the bench. They're around here somewhere, aren't they? Okay. Told you guys, I'm not all that polished at this stuff. Bench press. Now I take this and bunch it into 8 pieces. It's now going to be my puzzle because I'm a kid. And I have to figure out which of those 8 pieces and analyze within my style, my form, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. I have to be really honest with myself. I have to know where I am today, know where I've been in my travels, and know where I want to go. I got to understand my limitations of arm length, you know, genetic gifts, and really how much muscle mass I have, and if I have that big deficiency in that upper pectoral, and I take a grip that's a wide grip. What's a wide grip in the bench? Is it collar to collar? Is a narrow grip in the bench, thumb to thumb? Come on.
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah.
No way, Doc. Come on, you know more than that. A wide grip bench is 1 finger wider. A narrow grip bench is 1 finger narrower. Why? Because they have to be specific to this lift. If you do an incline bench, you might as well be doing snatches for the bench press. An incline bench is so far away from this that it isn't really going to help you do the exercise. I think and thought that all things had to be just real close to this lift. Make sure I got the right one here. Yeah. So you know how I work triceps, a lot of presses. Guess what happened when I blew the pectoral off and I was doing these easy bar tricep presses from a prone position with 400 pounds, or 20s, like nothing. I thought of a salt and pepper shaker, just, and that really gave me a ton of power for that kind of pressing. When I blew the pectoral off, now what am I going to do? Anybody got any ideas? Come on, you guys could all you help me with my injuries and work around it and still get over 600 in the bench. How am I going to do that? How am I going to really effectively work my tricep? Okay, I'll tell you. Get on a decline bench, fairly decline, and now you push from here. But if you're looking at me from there and you're my spotter, you see the bar, the lower arm and the upper arm all in a straight line. What have I done? I've taken that pectoral out of it. I've locked the shoulders. I've done about a 12-inch movement. I've developed a colossal tricep that has a lot of power that's functional in the bench press. So I think it's really important to understand each of the components in bench, each of the muscles involved, and then a good analyzation of where you stand with those. Hey, I'm being redundant, aren't I? That's all right, because I did just say that. But I think it's truly important. That hand grip and space, that arm's got to be at that 90 degrees. But thinking of it as a hydraulic cylinder and springs, how about philosophy of weight? How you move weight, what you think of this trash. And you know, those are just memories. I mean, in my day, it was a little bit of psych was to take 4 or 5 plates, 25s, 35s, 45s, let them bounce, and head to the bar, because they ain't nothing. As soon as you give them the respect that they're something, you might as well be bowing down to them. It's been a while since I've gave one of those. I might give one when I try that frying pan. But okay, one of the biggest keys for me then was how you feel about the resistance and whether you really give it any respect and whether you're cognizant of it. I, in training, never picked up a plate other than to smash them around and act stupid. My coach would load the bar for me. Imagine squat, 250, 450, 650. My warm-ups. If I would have to, after 650 for a quick set of 10, I forgot to undo the collar, didn't I? Anyway, reenactment. I never did that. I didn't record 100 on this side, 100 on that side, or 45s, or any of it. I told my workout partner, my coach, you know, he made a lot of my workouts, knew exactly what I was doing every week. The bar was loaded for me. I simply sat back down, they undid my wraps, pulled down my suit, had undone my belt. All I thought about was, I kept that perfect form. I was in my zone. I was perfectly strong. Maybe it was a little tilted. I got to stay back. I have ultimate power. When my heart rate was down, my respiratory rate was down, 3 or 4 minutes had passed. I got a drink of water, whatever. It's time for next set. I sat down. They wrap my knees. They pull the suit up. I'm like a robot. All I see is this bar. I hadn't touched an extra weight. It doesn't weigh any more than it weighed from the first set to the last set. If you do that same form on all 3 lifts every time, and it's only a bar, you got a real big advantage. You guys see that as an advantage? Mm-hmm. Am I really smart? Come on, guys. Give me some credit. I didn't learn that in a book either. I'm not cutting you guys down. You guys are fabulous. But there are ways of figuring things out without actually getting it out of a book and searching for it. And, you know, it's one of those things. In my career, it was an intuition. It was after that workout, analyzing, critiquing, understanding everything that went on in that workout. But now that motion picture of the mind and preparing for the following workout, projecting on that screen, the lift of the next day, the sounds in the gym, the smells in the gym, the aura and the energy, the people that were going to be there, the lifts I was going to do that day, so that as I built up for that and went into the gym for that workout for that hour and a half, singularly the most important thing, every breath I took was just, if you guys are into this, Okay, no, wait a minute. I'm the practitioner, so I did all this shit, and I'm trying to explain it to you guys. It's sort of like every one of those breaths of energy are just, I mean, that's all you can use. If you break down, you miss the lift. I never missed lifts. Except when Dave Johns tried to give me a handoff at Senior Nationals in the bench press, and the goofball's posing, he's like Mr. America, and he doesn't lift it off because he's not strong enough. He's a bodybuilder. Biggest mistake of my life. I cranked this weight over, and I'd never done that because I always get a triple lift off where you don't even feel it. And then it's just, boom. I don't think a lot of guys approach the weight that way. I taught one of my, okay, going way back. I'll tell you a couple stories about other powerlifters, athletes. Jamie Reeves, 1989 World's Strongest Man. After a competition, we had to do a seminar. Well, I had to do it. I was the one getting paid, selling posters and T-shirts and making all kinds of money over in Europe. And after Highland Games, we did some shoulder work. I did military presses. I went 350 for a couple sets of 10. He stopped at 308 and did a double. That's all that he could do. He said, Jamie, why do you treat this like anything? Why do you act like it's 300 pounds? It's just a bar. When you bring it down, just launch it and get it in the groove and just go bang, 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 bang. 2 weeks later, I saw him. He did 308 for 10. Did he gain strength over those 2 weeks? I don't think. He gained an understanding of how to move the resistance through the range of motion and how to utilize, his facilities in his body and how to recruit that fiber. One of my best stories is O.D. Wilson. And it's a bit of a touching story because he's no longer with us. But can you imagine in a room like this, a guy standing up in the back that's 6'6", I mean, his head's almost touching the ceiling, and he's 350 at the time. And he goes, Mr. Kazmaier. Yeah, yes. Yes. Someday I'm going to be as strong as you are. I said, well, you really look like you could be. What do you want to know? That was my attitude. It's kind of like you guys with whoever you're with. You're just like me. Whatever you want to know. How can I help you? We got to know each other within a few months. His powerlifting totals are going up. He's 2,200, 2,300, 2,430. And then they said it wasn't weighed right or something. I went, OD, you didn't really do it. They called it 24 or 24, and mine was 25. And there's a little bit, we're kind of at each other. But like 8-year-old boys. My best stories are about O.D. Wilson and some of the things that he was able to accomplish in his life. And when I had my hand on his shoulder next to him, teaching him how to brick lift, as he stumbled around 22 and 23, we're in the team strongman competition. You see, at that 24-30 total, I said, O.D., there's a team competition. Why don't you come? We're going to make a lot of money. He was making $12,000 a year working for the military. That week, he made $7,000. We won. He's in the brick lift. I'm in his face because he's messing up around 21, 22 bricks. It's kind of a transition, to get them off the table and lift them in old-time strongman feet. So as I'm in his face, I'm like right here, and he takes a hand off the brick and comes like this. And I really thought that the bear was just going to take my head and take it off my shoulders. So I kind of backed off a little bit, but at 24 and 25, he was in the zone. He had learned how to do it. He got his head out of his, wherever it was at the moment, at the 22 and 3, and put it into the lift and did 28 bricks for the world record. In another lift we were doing, we were lifting these big boulders, as you see, stones with handles on them. They do the block lift now up the stairs. Well, there were, half dozen stairs, 2 blocks. I said, O.D., I was thinking, because I'm so bright. Take this thing and throw it on the second step. You're the only one that can do it. Heck, at an exhibition a week before, we were doing shrugs. We worked up to 800. I did 10. He said, I'm going 8.5. I said, I'm going to go do biceps and show everybody how strong they are. So he goes 800 for 10, the guy's best bar. Looked like a rainbow. I said, we're so sorry. We really apologize. You didn't pay us enough for this seminar. So I had so much fun with OD and some of the things that he did. But so he's in this race, and 2 times he flips to the second step. Okay, he wins by just over a second, but it's like an 8-second trip up and down. Guess what? If he would have went to the first one, then the second one, we would have taken 3rd or 4th place, and I would have had to slap him. But he listened to me, and he went to the second, and he saved that 3-4 seconds by doing that and was able to win the event. So one of the things that was really, this is funny in a group like this. One of the things that really separated me apart from a lot of other lifters and knuckle draggers, I pick them up. You see, I thought a little bit about a lot of the events, and I really tried to, strongman coach, really tried to try to figure out what was involved in the lift and able to overcome it. So I don't know if we talked about the big three that much and enough.
Yeah.
We talked about auxiliary exercises, triceps, deltoids. I just did a lot of front raises to develop mass, a lot of dumbbell press to really make the deltoid strong. Felt like all I really was doing in the bench press was a front raise with a hydraulic cylinder and jamming off my chest. I never really felt that weight. It was just... And as I have said, I told so many guys so much last night that I think I'm doing 3 seminars. So I don't know what I've already said, but halfway through the lift, I shut down the burners. And right here I was thinking about the next lift. And I was intimating a wonderful story last night about world records and how I perceived them. So many of the guys that I met in my life took a world record because they usually only had one. They worked their whole life for it. They took it and they just kind of like, oh, they coveted it, huh? It was that big trophy and they squeezed it and man, they really had it. Well, my world records were like beautiful white doves. And when they flew in, they only stopped for a second. I enjoyed them for their beauty and just released them. And as I did that, 5 minutes later, I got another one. And there were other lifts. I got those world records. And I never crushed or really held them too tightly or thought too much of them other than for what they were, for that great gift. So I think that's really important as to how you progress and how you keep doing many more things. They're the most important thing in the world. You know, you're doing it for yourself, your family, and for promises that you make. And you can do all things if that's what you're supposed to be doing. So, strongman stuff, should we try to move into some of that stuff?
Sure. How about the one mental aspect you talked about when you started to kick in, when you fool the mind? That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Doc. When you're tricking the mind. I try to put all these things in words, and it's sometimes kind of hard. But when I'm talking to the kids, I say things like, the brain is kind of smart. And the body is, well, it's just giving real constant information, and most of it's going, ee, ee. And the brain picks up on that as, okay, you've done enough. So you sort of have to set up a little scheme apparatus in there that when you get to that pain threshold point where the body's kind of freaking out, you've conditioned the brain to say, okay, round 2, phase 2B, here we go, now we're going to start. When you're doing a set of 20 with something that's super heavy, but at 10, your body's screaming, but now it's your second phase, and you're ready for it, and you train that way, and part of the way that I kind of figured out how to get into other levels. When I was doing some of the Strongman Show things, I tried to make my training harder than the event. How do you do that in some of these things? You see how excruciating they are on TV, and you see guys puking when we're supposed to stick the mic in their face, and hopefully we don't get any on us, but you got to be right there, 5 seconds after he gets, I can't talk, why am I asking him a question? He can't even think. He's in the ozone. But at that point, you can imagine me trying to get ready for a sack race. I carry sacks. Finally, I'm all wobbly. So I grab sacks and I'm dragging them because that's the other half a part of the event. I'm working. The heart rate's just really skying, respiratory. I'm like a pit bull. And then I start pushing on a truck. And I push the truck because I'm just leaning on it. And I'm pushing more, and driving. Finally, my whole body's kind of like, it's just not working. So I sit on the bumper, latch into it, and drive some more. I keep going through bigger pain thresholds, try to experience the pain and relish it. It might be time for a little bit of how and why, but can you imagine stepping under a bar where your tendons are being ripped out of the groove, and you got guys around you going, F and S, blah! And you're thinking, L. 4-letter word. But that takes away all the pain. And you see yourself sitting in a chair. I got 2 chairs set up in my little mental activities here. You see, I never really got around the hypnotists and people who understood the mechanics of the mind and all that training, but I figured some things out for myself. And I saw 2 chairs in front of me as I'm about to approach the squat that's really going to hurt me. But I'm going to dominate it, and I'm going to beat it and overcome it because guess what? It has no brain, It's an inanimate object. I'm smarter. I'm tougher. I'm going to beat it. So what I do, those two chairs, I'd see myself get up and walk into one, totally on flames. Fire, pain. Man, I think it might have been like a hellish atmosphere around me. And then I'd see my body get up and walk over to the other chair. But that flame body myself was still sitting there. And if you follow me with this, that white body sitting there had this beam coming into it. And it was just like glowing bright. And it would come into me as I approached the bar. I'd have goosebumps. And that four-letter word of L, that story's still coming up. But I had the love for him in me to overcome this. So no matter what the obstacle was, no matter what the pain was, no matter how hard the endeavor was, I had all kinds of help. These goofballs that are yelling those F words, there's Satan with his hand. Supposedly, I don't know what he's doing with it down there, but as they go down, he goes, ha ha, and they miss their squat. Well, I had a helping hand that when I got to the bottom, it was whoop. A little bit different energy. And that was one of the biggest keys for me in my lifting was purity of purpose and the source of your energy and what you call on. For you guys to be successful, I don't have to sit here and motivate you. You all are going somewhere to a higher level. There's a reason why you're doing it. You're doing it to help other people. What a phenomenal thing. You're going to sleepless nights, doctors studying. Let's see, why do you study 20 hours, sleep 2 or 3 hours, and go do your exams and boards and whatever all that stuff is? Because you're really driven and you know that what's at the end is infinitely the most important thing to you. So you just like me, but you took a different path. And it's kind of like the same end. Same means to a really high end. What do you think? We get into a few, I'll still cover all kinds of stuff here, but what do you say we get into a few question and answer? Wouldn't that really,
great.
Go back to the big three, go to the world's strongest. I haven't touched anything on all those events of truck pulling and bar bending and losing the pec and losing the tricep and ripping the hamstrings. And I squatted one, just say something. Don't just stand there. Man, that's a valuable part of this film. Okay, so I'm squatting. And we're in a rack at the World's Strongest Man, and I go down, and I come flying up, and that thing's wiggling because it's in a straight line. It's like a hack squat. I rip one hamstring. I don't know how a hamstring's so involved. I think it happened supporting something. So I wrap it, and I go heavier because I want to win. And I go again, and I rip the other one. And the next lift is deadlift. A lot of love. I love the pain. Okay, what did I do? I'm against all the other guys in the competition, and I go to do the warm-up, 300 pounds. Oh, my kinesiologist is there. Thanks for sending him. He was the Palmer grad from Indiana or wherever that school is. He'd fly all over to all my shows with those hands and that understanding of muscles. He's working those hamstrings. The first lift is 600. Oh, man, really tough. The guys are going, he's done. No, I got a different kind of power in me. 700, 800, 900. Here's where they throw me the Mickey. It's me and Hackett. 9, 25, 50, 75, 1,000. Lift after lift, fighting over a half a point. What am I doing this for? It's ultimately the most important thing for me to win every single event, everything that I do. Because why? I'm not only the strongest man in the world. As you saw me with that goofy trophy behind me, and the guy says, how do you feel about this? Are you really the world's strongest? I said, quite frankly, I think I'm the strongest man ever. And that's what I was out to prove. So 1,000, 1,025, 1,050, these guys are real goobers. At 1,050, they want to go by 5. Ernie Hackett's 5'10". He's doing this lift where it's kind of like, boing. I'm going, he's not lifting it, he's moving it about 2 inches. And I'm dragging it up stiff-legged with these torn hamstrings. So me overcoming injuries and pain, I had a lot of help. When I tore the pectoral off, my doctor was there, my chiropractor was there. We hit it with 3 cc's of DMSO. The doc at the time Early 80s seemed to think the DMSO would actually help it, but the 3 cc's of Marcaine, I think, is what kind of took care of it. But I mean, it ruptured in the spinatus group, so it left the attachment on. I went to the next lift. My wonderful squat. Squat lift. All week I had to hear them say, Dave Waddington, the man with the world's strongest legs, because he had squatted 1,000 pounds, right? And I just ripped my pectoral off. I go to get under the rack at 600, and of course it feels like my shoulder now. I had it scoped last week, and it really bothered me. Doc said, don't really do anything more than this. So, he's not here. But you know, that sucker snuck into the gym a day after I did my surgery, and there I went with a 60. I'm all locked here, and I'm going, I don't want to lose my bicep, Doc. Just put that thing down. He's a power lifter, friend of Eddie Cohen's, Bill Terrell, really a wonderful surgeon. I got more stories about him. But, yeah, the injuries. So Dave Waddington's supposed to have these world's strongest legs. The next lift over 700, then we're on up into the 8s. Getting inside this apparatus with a torn off pectoral. Well, if I hadn't torn most of it, I'm sure I got the rest of it. The front deltoid went in the bar bend. You see, they told us to practice with hot rolled steel. We used it the year before in our show, and they gave us the stuff that was kind of shiny, but oh, Bill, he's kind of locked in, you know, he's going to do anything. It doesn't really matter. Big explosion. And I lost that pectoral and deltoid. So, long story short, 970. When I finished it, did it after Waddington missed it, I stepped out and said, these are the world's strongest legs. And that's overcoming injury and pain, which is something that I really work on. Just recently, I think I'll get into this. One of the products that I'm going to have when I'm out signing these autograph things is MU oil. Oldest, is it an arachnotite? You guys can help me with this. Ostrich MU, the little one. Okay, the neat part about this thing is that it's 28% protein, like elk and all these other venison types, buffalo. And it's high in omega-3 and 6. And it's the lowest meat and saturated fat. It grew up with the crocodile, the beginning of the earth, whatever. It's been around here a while, and it's really a tough animal. There's something about this animal besides me getting plenty of free meat from this company. Something about it, I'm their spokesperson for pain management. Evidently the fat from the bird is compatible with our lipids, and it just kind of goes. And years ago it used to be DMSO, sulfur, put anything with it, aspirin, whatever on our knees to kind of kill pain. Now it's the MU product. With that they put a precursor to cortisone, the pregnenolone, which cuts down on inflammation. So I got this bad shoulder. And I'm banging along, going to schools and youth groups in different places for the last year. And I'm moving 100-pound dumbbells, breaking a few boards, bending some bars, and playing with frying pans and stuff like that, and trying to get the kids' attention so that I can deliver them a message. And I grabbed the 100-pound dumbbells and I did 30. A week later, I did 31. Long story short, I ended at 38 reps with 100-pound dumbbells. No warm-ups. First I do them for side raises. Cold, that's kind of a... Seated, that's kind of... Anybody do side raises with 100 seated? Even after warming up? Come on, that should be a few more people. So then, something's happening to my shoulder. I don't know what it is, so I'm putting this pain cream on it, and I'm just kind of overcoming it. I'm just looking up going, hey, I got to do this. Give me some help. And I was at the NSCA show and did 35 reps with a broken glenoid process. And they finally did an MRI because they said, Doc, it is hurting. I don't want any painkiller. I don't want any anti-inflammatories. He said, Bill, what you got, a shot of cortisone is not going to help. So after the MRI, you see this bone kind of sticking up in my shoulder, that little process, right? Evidently, there was a cyst on the end of it that put enough pressure and snapped it off. And so I just put the cream on and go. I got so courageous, I said, well, at 38 reps with the 100s, that's kind of foolish. Let me go to those 150s. You know, I did 40 reps with the 100s 20 years ago standing. So 38 reps seated, I think, is almost as good. And be it 20 years later. 20 years ago, I did 150-pound 156s for 10 standing to set the new world dumbbell press record that Doug Hepburn had. He did 150s for 1. I think I obliterated that record, huh? So to try to stay young and vibrant, you know, I married a girl 20 years, my junior, just 2 years ago. So I thought I had to keep lifting some heavy weights and stay, virile and strong and all that. And I jumped to the 150s to see if I could reproduce that. I did 10 seated with the 150s. Well, then my shoulder's really hurting. And the next week went 3 sets of 10 with the 150s. All with this pain cream. Pretty neat stuff. I've got some literature. You can check it out. I think if you look at it real close and with what you guys do, the MU oil is it's like a snake oil. It's too good. It does something with, how many layers of skin are there? 3 or 4? With those layers, it goes in, it heals scars, it heals burns, it cuts down inflammation. It's a carrier. Man, it's pretty cool stuff, and I got kind of fired up behind the company. If I switch gears real quick into another company that I work for, is Metrex. And you think I got enough time to tell the story about the MU and why they're doing it?
Yep.
This is kind of cool. Back to the MU. This guy calls me up and says, we want you to help us promote this product. It's really cool. The meat from the bird is unbelievable. It's a 1-2 punch, man. We need you to help us. I said, well, I'd like to help you, but I don't know. Why are you doing this? Oh, well, we were fishing in Hawaii, and we kind of got the idea that we were going to do this. I said, well, who gave you the idea? And he started talking a little more, and he said, well, you can take a cow and put it on 100 acres of land, and the yield from the alfalfa will give you X pounds of meat. You take 100 acres of land and plant soybeans and put these little birds in a pen, give them the soybeans, you got 10 times as much meat with lower saturated fat and much cleaner meat. And he said, I kind of got this message, I was supposed to do that. I said, well, what message? Are you a Christian? Because if you're a Christian, I'll help you. And I don't really want any money because I think, I'm supposed to help you because you're reaching out to me like this. He said, well, let me tell you the real story. That 100 acres overseas in some third world country, with this plan implemented in those countries, can feed his people. Think about it. These guys control the genetics of the birds. They put all 250 of the growers in America of these birds together. They supply them with the feed, with the genetics, with the incubators and all this stuff, and they're growing these birds that not only can feed his people, give you a higher quality protein, but give you this unbelievable oil. And when this stuff hits, it's going to help a lot of people because it's really good for you, good for the body, and I'm happy to be involved with it. Another company I'm working with is Metrex. I was just in Chicago working for 2 companies, Strive Exercise Equipment and Metrex. And any of those ProLab guys in here? Good. Because I have a friend just a minute ago hand me one of their bars, and it was a mint, and I went, uh-oh. All of our bars are reformulated where if you thought they were okay before, they're incredible now if you guys can get any of the new Metrex bars up here. But to be able to engineer nutrition, to be able to replenish the cells with only what you need and not a lot of the extras, I don't really think that regular foods do that. And to me, over the years, I've really been after. We used to, when we made a blender shake back in the 70s, that poor blender, we'd start with whole milk because we didn't really know about fat and stuff, and put a couple eggs in it. We didn't know that we couldn't digest the egg white because of the biotin, and we had to heat it first. And we're dumping powder in there. And some of it's soy. We didn't know that that wasn't complete. We waited for the stuff to stop mix, and the motor started smoking. We turned it off and went, boom. We were drinking sludge, but 400 or 500 grams a day, and we didn't know why we had gas. So here's us after a workout. And as I got started, it was really kind of fun. We'd go into a grocery store after the workout, head to the meat section. Grab a gallon on the way, gallon of milk, of course. At the counter, we'd pay for the meat, but all there was an empty package. And they're going, where'd the steak go? What do you mean, where'd it go? We ate it. So we stand out. We'd stand out in front of the store. We'd each have our own gallon because we weren't into germs and kissing each other and stuff. And I'd hold my gallon up, and my partner would squeeze it. And we called it shooting gallons. So I don't know how many people could do this, but we could take a quart of milk, and we'd line them up, and you'd shoot a quart without stopping, just down, down. There's men and there's men. Thanks. But that brings another thought to my attention, and something I want to relate to you is that what is the measure of a man? Is it his ability to lift weights? Is it, how big and strong and powerful and how much endurance, how great of an athlete he is, and all those things? I think not. I think the measure of a man is the size of his heart, his relationship with his Lord, how he serves him, and how he helps other people. And what are all you guys doing? What's the purpose in your life? Whether you're Christians or not, you're doing the right thing. And that's the measure of a man, is what he's doing. And I try to tell that to a lot of the kids that I talk to, and I think the young kids really need to hear that from somebody like me, that just because I'm a big, strong knuckle dragger, it's for a higher purpose, and there's a reason for all this. There really is. We didn't get into any questions and answers, did we?
Let's do that.
Are we running out of time? Are we?
No, we're okay.
How are we doing?
Keep rolling.
What would you like to talk about?
I would ask Mr. President if you ever use videos to better your approach to lifts.
Thanks. Did I ever use videos to approach my lifts? Never really could afford a video camera. Tom McLaughlin down at the Strength Research Center at Auburn University put some high-speed cinematography on me one time for the bench press. I brought the bar down, shoved it up, worked it back. He plotted it. He went, my God, look at this. You start low, it's going back up like this. You're distributing the load, putting it on these different muscles. And I go, yeah, Tom, I'm dragging it up a ramp. But he was into that and the force plate and a few other things. And, I never really videoed. We do it now with my little boy in discus throwing, because it's so important to have the body in the proper position. And I didn't, we tried to use the mirror, and my philosophy of the mirror was always that if you could catch it out of the corner of your eye, or you watch yourself in it, it was your instrument. It was it was your feedback. But those poor bodybuilders that stand in that mirror and are doing all that posing and got that goofy music on and those little Speedos and stuff. I mean, give me a break. I mean, you don't see a bull with a big sack with nipples and stuff. It's like, they don't go together. If you're going to have muscle, it might as well be functional stuff. And I really shouldn't assault those guys, but I feel really bad, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do, that Ronnie Coleman, a policeman, has, what kind of chemistry lab is going on in his body? And he tells kids he's clean. And he doesn't take drugs. It's just such a travesty. I mean, I stand in front of a group of kids. My hardest presentation was first grade to 12th grade. I'm talking to 8-year-olds and 10, 12-year-olds, and I'm turning in the gym like this. And a senior says, what about steroids? You lie to them, you lose them in 2 seconds. I told him, you don't make your living off your sport. You're not there yet. You're not a professional football player. You're not the best in the world. You're not even competent at your training. It's illegal. It hurts your body. You don't have any technical support. You need a whole staff, blood work. You have to really completely understand, if you educate yourself to what you're talking about, that word. I said, no. I often make the joke that I use styrofoam and other things like that, but steroids are something that I really don't use, wouldn't promote the kids to use. And yes, I did. It was at a time when they were legal, and we did it under doctor's supervision. We were really closely scrutinized, and we were doing everything we could to enhance our performance. I was already an elite athlete, and so that's a tough question, in front of those kids. But how do you make that sound right in front of a 8 or 10-year-old? It's pretty tough to do. So imagine my challenges sometimes. What was your question?
Today, a lot of strongmen that are in the finals of the World's Strongest Man, some of them heavy squat 600, but because they have been trained, they're good at what they do. How much event training did you do back in the 80s?
Wonderful question of how much event training did I do way back in... I'm inside the dot. How much event training... The question was, how much event training did I do 20 years ago? And the guys of today probably can't squat 600-700 pounds. It just tears my heart out to see 𝙎𝙩𝙧𝙚𝙤𝙣𝙠's be world's strongest man, and he's this big around. And he can't deadlift much over 7, and he can't squat 7, and sure, he can run, and he's a nice young guy. Yeah, I like Phil, though. Let's not cut into him too hard. He's a fireman. He doesn't take any roids. Both of his both of his parents are doctors. He refuses to even take one anabolic to help his body recover from all that punishment. I like Phil. He's one of our up-and-comers, and he's got leverage disadvantages, but he can't deadlift and squat. If the event stays the same, he's going to do really good. Way back when, in my humble beginnings, I did the big 3 and a lot of overhead stuff. They said, show up strong. Well, I walk all around. The earth shakes beneath my feet. I'm the king of all I survey. I'm the strongest at everything. I'll do whatever events you've got. And they would show us the events an hour before we'd come back and do them. As I said a little bit earlier, because I was a bit of a thinker, not quite on your level, I was able to analyze and critique and understand an event just prior to it and figure out how to do it. I don't want to say Don Reinhardt was stupid, but he took the log and dragged it up his thighs. Patoo! Went a hamstring. I always won the event, the first event, if I could, so that I went last on the next event. It didn't take too long to figure out how to do it better than the other guys. I took the log from the side, dropped it across, rolled it up, kept it moving, because as soon as you stop, it's like, okay, now where's my equilibrium? Where's the sun? Let's see, where? Clouds are moving, man. Where's my balance? So it's just up and go and just blast that thing. But I thought a lot about the events. You know, some of these dummies, you got to carry these barrels, and there's like a dozen of them, and they got handles on them, and they're really heavy. So they take one at a time, they're going up to the truck, and then they're throwing it on, coming back and getting the other one. I grabbed 2 barrels, I run up to the truck, I dropped one, I put one on. I cut my trips by half. I beat all the other guys by 7 seconds. What are they thinking about? Here's what I was thinking about in a lot of the events. In the barrel loading, anybody remember the world's strongest, like early 80, I was tossing them. The biggest guys in the world were carrying them. If you didn't see it, I won't tell you the story, because otherwise you won't get it. Nobody saw it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then. It's a rerun, for sure. But people are still rooting for me every day. They say, yeah, I saw you last night, I was rooting for you. How'd you get all the way from there to here in one night? Oh, it's easy, it's magic. Okay, barrel loading. Sticky from your tape, pre-wrap. You know, just sticky, glue, 3M. On the barrel, on my hands. Perception of reality. Creating your own reality. Programming your mind. These poor suckers. Here's me. I pick up the first barrel. I pre-programmed. They were 180. Nah, they're 18. They didn't weigh anything. Pop! It flew about 10 feet up in the air. Came bouncing down, everybody's going, holy, check his barrels. Next move. They blow the whistle. Snatch. Boom. The barrels are landing in the middle of the truck, bouncing out of the front of the truck and smashing the cab. I jack 6. I'm 8 seconds ahead of second place. I overdid it a little bit, but I was that much better at a lot of these events. In one of the competitions, I won 5 firsts, tied for 1, so 6 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, and a fourth. The 2 seconds, 2 guys rose to the occasion to beat me. I give them credit. Maybe I was slacking a little bit. The third and the fourth, Bruce Wilhelm started messing with me. He was the master of judges, whatever, kind of Olympic lifting. He was such an egomaniac. I really feel bad for that guy, because now he's a small guy, and I can just go, doink. So when you're kind of a dink and you treat people like that, and then you become small later, you got to hide a lot. It's sort of true. He didn't treat people very nice. And I was always real gracious to the guys and tried to help them as much as I could. And although it looked like I was off of myself and being really mean, I was really just focused and in my stuff. But I did not event train. We just power trained. And surely event training would help, but are the guys today stronger? No. What are we doing about it? Well, do we have enough time for the story about Sports Illustrated and why I'm not commentating?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you guys spread information. You help. At this symposium, you're doing nothing but lifting everybody up. The smartest guys in the world are talking to everybody about, trying to help. In the World's Strongest Man, the guys who invented it 20-some years ago don't promote the show. They don't make a regional show. They take 7 people to Europe, all around the world, to film it. A sound man, a cameraman, Todd Harris, myself, the 2 color guys, and 2 producers. It cost them nothing. So Sports Illustrated, this funny article, I don't know, it's kind of it was an inapropos name, Titans of Testosterone, talking about World's Strongest Men competition, and this guy was really slagging all of us, and it was really cutting the whole thing down. He knew what he was going to say before he wrote the article. He interviewed me. I told him A to Z, everything about the sport. I said, when I won it 3 times, they stopped inviting me. It was like putting Michael Jordan on the sidelines. You don't do that, but they didn't really want to build the sport. So I kind of let them have it a little bit, and I said, you know, they spend as little as possible to make as much as they can. It's just business. I'm a businessman. I understand that. The tourist board from all the countries pays for all the flights, the food, and the hotels. They pay half to $1 million. So it costs the production company nothing. The man who invented the show tried to tell me they make $25,000 off the show, less than the top place prize winner. He makes $25,000 bucks. What a joke, huh? You surely can't believe that. So when I said that in this article, the guy from Sports Illustrated, or sorry, from TWI, who produces a show, World's Strongest Man, said, Bill Kazmaier will not work on our show. Now here, you had a history of just doing whatever you want with a show. You don't promote it. You don't help the whole movement grow in America. You send it over to Europe after Franco Colombo crashes with a refrigerator. Franco sues for $2.4 million. Arnold Schwarzenegger gets on the stand and says, yeah, you lost all this work. Yeah, it was a horrible injury. It was their fault. The apparatus was faulty. 2.4. They moved the show to Europe. Jeff Capes, who had taken 6th place to me in my last victory, organized the show. He won 3 times in a row. These guys started to figure out if you manipulate the events, you might have seen events where you take a big ball and put it on a high, level, flat box. But if you're a short guy, ha-ha, you. And it's manipulated. You know, in the strongman shows, you have to take 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in almost every event. If you take last, you lose. What'd they do to O.D. Wilson? I got to tell that story in those metrics moments. You might have seen some of the things I said in those metrics moments. I got a little bit self-aggrandizing. I mean, I really got the chance to say, hey, I rip my hamstrings. I come back in deadlift. I rip my pec. I come back in squat. I kind of tell it how it is, that I was truly the strongest man there. And they gave me the opportunity to do that. But when I got to talk about my friends like O.D., in 1990, he and I did the strongman team competition. We won it. We did a singles competition, he and I, and in Iceland, I beat him. I said, O.D., it's your turn to be world's strongest. I'm going home. I had worked all summer. And in 90 days, I had done 30 competitions and 30 seminars. Think about that. In my pocket, where I only had enough money to buy a couple dozen T-shirts, I went home with $100 grand in 3 months as a knuckle dragger strongman. So I did okay with that, but I did not want to go to the World's Strongest Show. O.D. got there. Of the 8 events, he smoked these guys. He took the anvils and tossed them like I tossed those barrels. He was truly the strongest man in the world. When he stood up in the back of that seminar and said, Mr. Kazmaier, someday I'm going to be just as strong as you, he did it. The last event, he was 7 points ahead. John Paul Sigmarsson had to take first. He had to take last. You can never take last. They gave him a running event, 200 meters with blocks on his back. 6'6" and 440 or 50 pounds. That ain't strength. He had dominated. So not only did they beat him, defeat him, one of the lifts was a boat lift. Numisto from Finland built the boat. It was contested in Finland. Guess what? He set it up for himself. The thing was perfect. Bloop. He won the event. He wasn't the strongest guy there. In Montreal, Canada, O.D. Wilson went 2,000 pounds in the Ledefi Mark 10. Whoop. It was totally incredible to see his strength. He came home after being defeated, was really upset, went into a radio interview, got a little bit upset, was maybe a little bit too heavy, walked down the stairs, reached for the door of his car, and said goodbye. And that's really a terrible loss because he would have been, I think, his shoulders maybe and chest were not that developed, but legs and low back, what that guy could do with a 900 and 1,000 pound squat was just like, it was truly incredible. But because he had supple shoulders, he could get inside of the bar. And his deadlift was right at 900 and truly phenomenal also. But yeah, great question. Where is it going today? Arnold Classic, February. If you guys are really into this stuff, be there. 4 events. Terry Todd, David Webster, and myself have been asked to help organize this strongman show. Lifting the Apollon wheels. Anybody remember those? 360 pounds. Szymanski, Davis. I think Davis had to change his grip. I was training for that Apollon wheels many years ago with a 2-inch bar. I was taking 350, cleaning it and doing a set of 10 with it. So I couldn't, I tore my tricep off a couple of weeks later, wrestling and doing really heavy dips. And then I pressed a guy 3 1/4 and I ripped my tricep off, so it stopped my attempt to do the Apollon wheels. But the 4 guys that did it, Szymanski and Grimick, We're 230, 40 pounds, and it's many, many years ago. We're going to take these wheels, make a replica. You'll clean them from the floor, press them over the head, not a continental onto the chest or anything, as many times as you can in a minute. But that's really a brute strongman's event. You got to have a great grip. Carrying heavy weights up a ramp, short distance, really heavy weights. A football push with something that stays on the ground. One man against another. You'd both take the strain, flip the switch. One guy wins. He's the stronger, heavier, more powerful guy. Fourth event on the stage at the Arnold Classic, deadlifting a Hummer. Strapped into your own bar on a fulcrum. Guess what? Winner gets double points. He should win the Hummer. He gets the Hummer. $85,000, $15,000 for first time that strongman is really strongman again, and I think pretty awesome. That's where we're going with it. Hopefully I'm on the stick. Arnold does a 1-hour TV show, and some of that will be on television. If you guys come to that event, 8,500 athletes. Let's see, the Olympics has 9,000. Pretty good event, huh? Gymnastics and cheerleading and karate, of course, bodybuilding, arm wrestling, powerlifting, and our strongman event, which will really be kind of cool. But more questions, and then maybe we'll see where we end up with time here.
Technique for athletics.
What's that?
Your technique for the athletics.
Technique. It's really overcoming the resistance in a really quick move. I had a very weak link in my chain. Pectoral and deltoid gone. Kind of hard to pinch. The guys of today use a lot of glue. Stick them. And the hardest part about that is the transitional phase from here to here. Some of the guys are so strong in upper and mid back. In training that part of the back, doing a hyper like that, doing a hyper where you round, doing different parts of the spine. Fred Hatfield turned me on to something after I was all done lifting. Nice guy. He told me, do hypers with your hips on the bench, and then start dropping your feet, putting the pad on your stomach, and then a little bit more towards your chest, and taking the upper part of your spine. And then he said, do your hypers, raise one elbow, raise the other elbow. He gave me all this great information after I was at my best. So when I go out to see the kids, and not like you guys are the kids, but I break boards and bend bars, and I've been rolling up frying pans till I had my shoulder operated on last week. They did a little scope and tried to fix it up for me, but my doctor told me not to use this arm, so I don't know how I'm going to roll up this frying pan. Maybe if I have the help of a metrics bar. You know, I really draw on another really, really powerful source, and I'm sure I'm blessed with that. So that strength will be in me. But this helps a lot with my cuticles. It protects my fingernails, and also it's got that great protein. Let me tell you just a little bit about metrics. I hope you guys will search it out and read the magazines about what's happening in the next 6 months. If you ever thought there was a movement, I mean, do you think we really landed on the moon? Okay. Are we ever going to make it to Mars? In nutrition, metrics, all science-based, 31 new products November 1st. It's all coming out in the magazines. Terry Giles, a research scientist, he started in his bathtub. But then he got his PhD, and now he's really, really bright. I'll tell you about some of the products real quick. But 70 new products coming out in February. It's sort of like the rest of the industry is they're going to be crippled. There's a company in Holland that bought Rexall, Metrics Worldwide, and GNC. They're called Royal Numico. EAS is a big company, right? $250 million a year. They spent most of their money advertising on products that didn't work. They made big mistakes. They're in trouble. Guess how big Royal Numico is? $5 billion. Guess who wins? Guess who's got the best labs, the most research, science-based products coming onto the market? Metrics. So guess who I'm involved with? Biggest, best, strongest. I'll tell you about Strive in a minute. Okay, one hand, right? Because I can't use this hand. Oh yeah, the camera. I gotta warm up. There's only one thing I gotta do, and that's look up. Oh man. Oh no, I forgot to get my bar. That's a big mistake. See, I don't really have to growl. I just do that for the fun of it. So, to talk about a blessing, Metrex Rexall sent me over to Saturday morning meeting at Walmart. Oh, Sam, many years ago, said he was going to build a $200 billion a year company. Guess what? This last year, 2000, like 190, 95. He sent me to represent their new products at the Saturday morning meeting. 1,000 store managers, all these people in there, the executive board there, president of the company. I waltz up to him, we just start talking. I'm involved in a skit with him. He has to lose a pound of weight. Our company's going to give $2,000 to a charity for every pound he loses. He's on our high-protein, low-carb diet. I'm there to tell people, fat's your enemy, keep your carbs low, high protein builds the muscle, that's the food you need to eat. So I roll one of these up and I say, and if you use this for breakfast every morning, you're bound to lose weight. And but to have the kind of opportunities I have and to listen to how that company was formed and the history of it and to have that experience just was totally phenomenal, the kind of things I get to do. I'm involved with this company, Strive, now. They took Arthur Jones's cam. I'll make this really quick. You can share about it later. They took Arthur Jones's cam. Well, first, they got the three-finger thing that kind of, what it does is it targets tissue. You hit the belly of the muscle, the origin, the insertion, and then you can do combinations of those. Now they've taken a cam and put a quick lever on the side, 9 different positions in the cam. So although I'm an expert, I think, am I an expert of free weights? Yeah. Although I was born with this stuff and I built my reputation and everything, and this stuff, the big 3, are only for testing strength. The bench press only works the pectoral here. It's a really short movement. It's really hard on the joints. All the rest is deltoid and tricep. When you put yourself on a machine and you take individual muscle groups and work them and then put them back into the puzzle, you can get so much stronger. It freaks me out that so many guys are doing shoulder presses. Shoulder only works from here to here. What are you doing up here tearing up those joints? So if you ever check out Strive machines, they're totally unbelievable and it's the best technology out there. And what's happened with me is I'm aligned with all the best companies and I don't know why that's happening. It's just that I'm blessed.
You want me to close the slide?
Yeah, you close it out, huh? Hey, Doc, you want to wait a minute and I'll tell you when to hit it? You want to wait a minute, I'll tell you when to hit it?
Yep.
Okay, so you might have a curiosity. Why and how could this guy have this great strength? And how has he been able to, to focus all of his energy and to be able to walk this path and break record after record, no matter what he tries, when other guys do one thing in their whole life and he just takes that. First time, Thomas Inch dumbbell, that goofy thing, 4 guys lifted it before I saw it. 7 3/8 inches around, or 7 3/4, almost 8 inches around. I got a little mitt. I barely could do it. Grip specialist built it. He deadlifted it. 3 other guys after him. In 100 years, 10,000 men tried it. 4 guys took it to here. I took it to here to be the 5th. Then I went, watch this. I stood it on its end, put it on my thigh, got it to my shoulder, and went, boop. You're not supposed to be able to do that. But because I'm the strongest ever, I can do anything. I wasn't even in shape when I did that. And I have more records coming, I believe. But how did I do it? I have a real simple picture that depicts me in 1976. I was really lost and really in a lot of trouble. And I was searching for a lot of spiritual things. I was looking at a little metaphysical stuff. I was really concerned with telekinesis. I often would say at the time, lifting weights and doing these things is like a manifestation of my frustration, of my inability to use levitation, because I would put toothpicks on water and just tap the table and go, it moved. But I got some really neat stories. I better not go there. I got a picture that I pulled out of my file about 2 months ago, and so I made a slide of it. I have a really extensive slide presentation. There's one. And but it's the most powerful thing that I can show you, and it is why I'm the strongest man in the world. It is the power and energy that I tapped into. I often would say, before I lifted a weight, I lift this weight in celebration for what Jesus Christ did for us. Send your power into me through a beam of light. I will work for you. When I first started lifting, I put my hands together, my head down. I said, I will work for you. I'll be humble. I'll be down to earth. Anybody I meet, I'll tell them everything I know. and I'll tell them about you. You can work through me. Well, if you look closely, 650 for 5 at the state meet. I didn't compete because I was on my way to a higher level meet just a few months later. That was the last weight lifted on the platform, so I took it for 5 just as a little bit of a show off. I weighed about 280 and 270, something like that. And you might, I handed this picture out to a couple people before. Anybody see something going on in that picture that's a little unusual? That beam of light? I handed it to a cab driver because he had gospel music on it on the way to the convention day before yesterday in Chicago. And he goes, "Oh man, that's an angel above your head, man." I think he was from Jamaica. I don't do that very good, but being a man of spirit, he picked it up pretty quick. And with that kind of power, and instead of the F word and the S word and beating my head against the wall, I said the L word, the love for Jesus Christ. And I wanted his power, and I used it. And it was ultimate power. If you tap into that kind of energy, and you have that purity of purpose in your life, these are the things I tell the kids. And I have hope for them and hope for the next 10 years, however many we have. But I really believe that these are the end times, and we all got to work really hard to help each other and make this life, plan it the best we can and save as many as we can. So that picture explains in simplicity why I'm the strongest man in the world. I was given a gift because of how I'm using it. I was given the platform, and there's really a higher purpose to my life than just dragging my knuckles and picking up weights. So thanks for your attention, and